Hey there, gorgeous! Hope you're having a great day. This video really... Hey there, gorgeous! Hope you're having a great day. Happy Friday to you. This video really doesn't need an introduction. The title says everything. I've just been thinking about all of this new makeup that we see all the time. I mean, it's like new. And we're constantly bombarded with so much new stuff that we tend to forget what we already have. And so I wanted to start focusing more on that. Tilly says hi, by the way. So this is about makeup that we don't hear that much about. Makeup that has long since been pushed to the back of the drawer, that's not really, yeah. I know, it's hard to focus, right? Makeup that I wanted to give attention to, just as a way to bring it back to, let's use what we have. Let's save money right now and focus on things that we have forgotten about. And so I hope you will enjoy this trip down memory lane with me today. This palette, do you remember this palette? This is the old, oh my goodness, what is it? Rimmel Jewel Rocks eyeshadow palette. The lid is actually broken, but it's still there. They just don't make them like they used to. You know, I'm really surprised that Rimmel hasn't come out with anything new. Really, they haven't come out with much new. I'm going to start with this shade from the palette. Maybe I'm wrong. They're just a brand that I'm not really seeing much from in the past year or so. This mustard shade, I tell you, there was an eyeshadow that MAC came out with years ago that was mustard like this, and it was the one that most people asked me, how do I use that? Because it was a very strange color, and yeah, it was much more mustardy than this one is. I can't remember the name of that eyeshadow. Now I want to look it up. Outre. Do you remember this one? Yeah, that was that like really strange color, but it was pretty though if you got it in the right look. Next shade I'm taking is this light yellow at the front. I'm going to apply this all over the lid. Look at that. Oh. Now, if I were going to stick solely to the Jewel Rocks palette, I would more than likely take this dark green from the palette and use that in the outer V and the outer third of the eye, but I'm gonna pick up another one. Oldschool Rimmel Spice Edition palette. This was a dupe for the Naked 3 palette from Urban Decay. I'm gonna take this shade right here and use that on the outer V today. And so we're applying it like this and then blending it back up into the crease. Keeping it more of like a neutral look today. But a dark green would be really nice here too. While we're talking about old school makeup in this video, these were the best. These L'Oreal Infallible single eyeshadows. Do you remember these? You can't get them anymore. I don't think you can. I loved these. This one, which one? I'll show you my favorite of all of them that I used. Here it is. I used this one so much. This was the Burst Into Bloom. One of the most beautiful purple eyeshadows from the drugstore. Oh, you can see a big dent in mine. I love this thing. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to complete the eyes just yet, but I'm going to move on to the brow product. This was my favorite years ago. It's from Sephora. It's their retractable brow pencil, and this was in the shade Auburn, I believe. I loved it so much I bought backups. One of them hasn't even been opened yet, and I don't think you can get these anymore. I liked it because it looked really nice in the brows and it looked more natural than not. And I stopped using it simply because of what I do. You know, it's like I'm constantly trying out new things and having to shift gears a lot. So it's hard for me to really stick with a favorite long term. That's what I have found about myself, but I love it. I still love it. That is the one product I never need another one. That's my brow drawer. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was wearing this next product in a video recently, and a lot of you had asked, what is that? And it was this deep black eyeliner that was very matte black. And it was the L'Oreal Flash Cat liquid eyeliner, and I love it, love it. I just started picking it up and using it again, but that is one of the reasons why I like it, is because it's so black. Look at that. And it's really easy to get it on, and it stays, it lasts all day. For those who may not be aware, the other unique thing about this eyeliner is that it comes with a stencil specifically for winged eyeliner on the cap. So you take the cap off, the stencil slides out like this, And then you can either use the straight edge to create your wing. So just hold it up like this. I know that pointed tip is like really intimidating, but if you just hold it up like this, you can draw a wing on. You can also use that little stencil tip there to hold it up against your eye and create a wing. So if you struggle with wings, it not only is a great pen for creating wings, but you have a added stencil in the cap. Now, while I was looking through my drawers, I came across this old pair of lashes. I used to love this style. It was my go-to for quite a while. These are from Pure. I'm gonna take them out of the box so you can see them a little bit better. These were in the style Diva. Do you remember these? I loved these. I went through a little bit of a love affair with these many years ago, and I was really surprised to find a pair in my drawer. And that's what the lashes look like after they've been applied. The band is a little bit thicker than what I gravitate towards now, so just letting you know that if they are still available, that's the only thing I personally am not really loving about them, but I mean, they still look fabulous on the eyes. For the face, L'Oreal's True Match foundation. How much was this thing raved about years ago? But then you don't hear about it anymore. The shade that I'm using is Fair Ivory. It just goes to show you. Oh, and Real Technique Sponge, another one that you don't hear much about anymore either. Although I will tell you that I'm not a huge fan of the Real Technique Sponge, simply because I've had so many that have fallen apart over the years. So they aren't ones that I go out and seek to buy. The one that I did buy not too long ago was this one, the Miracle Powder Sponge. Now this one was really good. I know I just got off on a whole tangent there, but hey, it is what it is. This is a nice foundation. It blends in really well. It's seamless on the skin. It provides a fair amount of coverage. I would consider it more medium coverage as opposed to being more sheer, but it's a classic. There's two concealers that come to mind when I think about old school makeup products that we don't hear much about anymore. So I'll mention them simultaneously. Maybelline's Fit Me Concealer, although I talked about this one in a video not too long ago, so I'm not going to use it today, but I wanted to mention it because it is one of those that was super amazing. And I know some people still talk about it every now and then, but it's not as widely talked about as it once was. But then the other one is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh concealer, and I have not used this one in a hot minute, so I'm gonna use it. This was my favorite when it first came out. This is the Fair 07C. Woo! Yes, this is probably too much, but yeah, bit much. But the coverage is beautiful with it, and it lasts all day, but not one we hear much about. I don't hear much about ColourPop that much anymore anyway. And look at that. Oh, gorgeous, right? For powder, I have a very old favorite that I was in love with many years ago, and that's the Rimmel Stay Matte powder. And this is one that I have had as a backup, but this is my original, as you can see. I really did love it. I feel like this one was one of the best back before they came out with all of those filterizing, blurring powders. This really was, to me, the original blurring powder back from like the good old YouTube days that a lot of people used. And it does a great job of keeping everything intact too. Now for contour, I'm gonna mention two products because one I know is not available anymore. The other one still is, I believe, and it's another one of my favorites from years ago. So the first one I'll mention is the Milani Silky Matte Sunlight Bronzer. This was beautiful. It's very cool toned and it's got a great texture to it, but again, it's not very widely talked about anymore. And then my absolute favorite that I can't really mention that much anymore because the brand has pretty much discontinued making makeup is this one from Sonia Kashuk. Do you remember this? This was the Undetectable Cream Bronzer in the shade Warm Tan, and it was just beautiful on the skin. It's a cream bronzer. It melts in. Yeah, it's still creamy, unbelievably. If I were going to replicate this one, I would say that the NYX Wonder Stick Cream is probably the closest thing I have found to it. And that one's really good too. But I mean, this is just so beautiful. It's subtle, it's not over the top. It was a favorite of mine back when it was available. Really old cream blush I have to share with you here comes from LA Girl. This is the Velvet Blush Contour Stick. And this was in the shade Snuggle. I loved these. I thought they were really fantastic. And I believe I just saw them in CVS, I think. So they are still available. But these were really pretty too. They reminded me a lot of Wet n Wild's chubby blush sticks that were very similar to this. For lips, this pencil is not talked about anymore, and I don't even know what happened to the brand. This is Jordana's lip liner in the shade Tawny. This one years ago was like the bee's knees. Everyone loved it. It was the best rosy neutral lip liner, and I'll just show you what it looks like. You can't get it anymore. I have tried, and that's probably why I don't use it that much. It's just the most perfect neutral for your lips, and it goes with a variety of different nude lipsticks too if you want to warm them up a little bit more. And it was one of my favorites too. So I wanted to mention that one. I don't know if I'm going to use it here today. The other one I feel like does not get talked about that much are the Revlon Classic lipsticks. These are fabulous. And the one that I chose to pair up with this look today is the one called Dare to be Nude, because it's a little bit of a lighter color that I feel like won't compete too much with the eyes today. So I might combine that up with the lip liner. Yeah, well, they're basically the same color. That's what I'll do. I'll go ahead and line my lips. Fill them in. They're just so creamy. Not talked about enough, and they're just one of those old classics. I also wanted to mention NARS Turkish Delight because that was my go-to favorite. I loved this one so many years ago. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to throw it out actually because it looks a little like, I mean, you can see there the color is actually starting to shift in it, but I just happened to come across it and I was like, oh, well, that's a nice walk down memory lane. I'm going to throw it back to an old favorite, Maybelline's Blushing Beige. I know you were here when I was wearing this lipstick. I loved it. The way that I do it now, instead of applying it all over my lips, is I'll apply it only to the center. And it helps to add like a highlight effect. If you enjoyed today's video, I hope you will hit the like button, share it with someone else who may enjoy taking a trip down memory lane and revisiting old makeup. And if you would like to subscribe just to see Tilly or myself, I mean, I won't get offended if you subscribe just for Tilly. I mean, I completely get it. Feel free to do that as well. And if you have a makeup product that you feel like is not talked about that much anymore, that needs to be resurrected, I hope you'll share yours in the comments as well. Thanks for being here, for taking the time to watch. We truly appreciate your support, and I speak love, peace, and joy into you and into your home, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.